down at the Chiefs Pit, Richie Petty, Mark Petty, Timmy Petty, sharing some stories with you from racing, because our families go back with years with all the real racing families, I reckon you would say. But Timmy was associated with the Bobby Allison team with the Stavolas, and our families run real deep with the Allisons. So Timmy's, we're going to shoot it over to him, and he's going to give us some insight with his tenure with Bobby Allison.
So, over the years, they sort of had a little bit of a feud in, what, 72?
Yes.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
When they were kind of leaving each other.
Well, I think it went back to 68. That's when Daddy got suspended for hitting him.
Is that far back?
At Islip in New York. And it
that was 68?
Yes, and it went on through the years. And I think 72 was the climax. The
Which
last
comes
one.
back to the story that Bobby always said to us.
Would come up to us.
Do you remember or did your daddy ever tell you the story about the time I wore his fist out with my nose?
Yes.
And laugh
from the time we were little bitty fellers, like everybody always assumed that the Pettys and Allisons were enemies. With the fact of the matter is, we weren't. And like when we used to stay at those little motels along the road, we'd play with all the Allison kids, as well as Donnie's kids, Kenny and Ronald and Donald, and
it was just hard.
Davey and Clifford.
They were racers.
Yeah, racers.
They were just racers.
So they stayed at the same places, not unlike the day where, sort of separated or whatever. But anyway, those guys stayed at the same places we did, and we always would.
Well, because most of the time there's probably only one or two motels in the whole town.
Exactly.
Maybe so.
I
So.
don't know that, but
I just know we always got along great with them, and think the world of them. But I got a few stories to tell about working with Bobby and at Stavolas, like y'all said. And anyway, so my wife was pregnant with our first child, and I was actually tire changer / Ori Petty. And anyway, he was due in 87, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to put I'm big on the years. I'm sorry. I get hung up on it sometimes and lock up about it. But anyway, Bobby come to me. We were in Richmond, or he was born in March, and he came to me and said, "Hey, you're flying home with me." And I'm like, I had never flew a lot in private planes. I didn't know a lot. I said, "Yes, sir." So he flew me home, and I was able to witness Ori be born. And it's like I tell people, I'm forever in his debt and grateful for his kindness shown to me and my little family. And I really didn't have a whole lot to, kind of didn't have a lot, and I couldn't afford to fly home. I was going to be driving back with all the other guys 4 or 5 hours later. But I remember the weather was really bad, and he's flying in that Piper Cub or whatever the heck it was.
He's driving.
Yes, and it was just scary, but like I said, I just want to extend that debt of gratitude towards Bobby Allison. And anyway, we have other stories to tell.
Well, you was working with the Stavolas when Bobby won Daytona, so you was working in the engine room.
Well, that was a little later, but yeah.
But you was working in the engine room.
88
there with them.
Right.
Where Bobby Hillen and Bobby Allison were the drivers for Stavola there.
Well, wasn't that when Bobby and Davey were in 1-2?
Yes, and that was in 88.
And Bobby won. You were a part of building the engines with.
So go back to 78, and Pop was involved with Bud Moore, winning the Daytona 500 with Bobby in the 15, right? That was a big
10 years prior. That's
big
pretty
old
cool.
square forward Thunderbird. But anyway, Bobby runs pretty deep in our family, probably deeper than what most people know, and I just want to tell him thank you, and the rest of his family that's still around, thank you. What else was we going to talk about, Bobby?
Well, I'll throw a story into you about Bobby Allison. Clifford, we were running ARCA in '92, and Clifford was he was struggling and coming along, and Bobby was going to the ARCA races with him, and we was going to the ARCA races. We was running all the speedway stuff, and Clifford was doing really well. I mean, he was going to be a great driver, and but anyway, the year before '91, we were at Atlanta, and sitting on pit road. It had been raining and it was wet, and we were getting into them radial tires, and anyway, Clifford was right ahead of me on the start line, and we came right before the race, there was getting ready to buckled up, getting in. Bobby leaves Clifford. He walks over there and he leans in. I just thought he was going to say, "Hey, good luck, have a good day." He says, "Look, Richie, it's wet. These tires are going to take a little bit to come in. Give it a couple of laps before you get on it." And to me, that was some of the best advice that I got, because I was, as a young guy, I'm like 22 years old, 23. I'd probably went in there, wide open and busted my butt. So I did. I took a little bit easy, got through there and got through the first couple of laps. Jimmy went on and had a pretty good day. So
Well, that just shows you that Bobby Allison's a great guy, because he didn't have to say that.
no, he did not.
He didn't have to give you no advice.
That's exactly right.
And you were running against his son.
That's right. But he was concerned with me, and there was his son in the same race. So I'd say that was class act.
Amen.
Well, and moving forward, when Lee and him both got in the Hall of Fame at the same time, and I was with Mom and Daddy, and I think we were in Daytona or somewhere for that deal, and I was able to go out and eat dinner with them, and they were all talking. I said, "That's my man right there." It was Bobby Allison. It just, I mean, he's just such a good guy, and just a racer, just like what we thought we were, So. Yeah.